The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, back again with Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Hello. Happy almost September to everyone out there. We're chugging along. I'm good. We're back. Thank you for having patience with us as you know, we were gone for a little bit there, a couple weeks. But yeah, I would say while we were gone, only one thing like actually related to the Suns tangibly sort of happened in the past 2 weeks, unless I'm forgetting anything. And we did talk about this just before we started recording here. So the schedule released, right?
Uh-huh.
We're going to talk about the schedule. Yeah. I don't think anything else really happened over the past 2 weeks. I saw a couple of social media videos. Did you catch, I actually know you did because I saw you retweeted this. Ryan Dunn and Oso and, it's baseball season, Mike, in case you didn't know. Mm-hmm. Ryan Dunn and Oso and Colin Gillespie, who just re-signed, of course, at a D-backs game. So that was fun. Got some good social media content for the TikTok account there.
Yep. Yeah, I would say across
otherwise
the
it's
NBA.
Been quiet.
Yeah. Across the NBA, you know it's bad if Michael Porter Jr. clips are going viral.
Yeah,
you know, we're like at the absolute bottom of the barrel. And to be fair, we're going to cover the entire Western Conference and just do sort of a table setting for the next season. We did this last year, and it was really helpful for me just to get my mind straight as far as what these teams did during the offseason and what they're going to look like going into next season. Because in previous seasons, there were times where I would go, Dario Saric is on what team? You know, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's helpful to go through every team. We do Western Conference here. We're going to do the Eastern Conference on the Patreon podcast. And, like, there is one team I will say that's not done, and that's the Golden State Warriors, and we still don't know exactly what's going on with them, which we'll talk about their situation when we get to them. But, yeah, Kuminga and all that is still holding up, I think, the offseason sort of having a lid on it. Like, it's still kind of – things are a little bit up in the air.
Dude, I just wanted to talk about that in general. Like, okay, we're doing this now because it's almost like training camp is a month away, right? Like, it's not that far. Yeah. But – we're in late August, and yeah, Kuminga is unsigned, but it's not just him. Josh Giddey, there's no resolution. Yeah. Quentin Grimes, who had a great second half of the season, no resolution. Cam Thomas, no resolution. So all of these restricted free agents. And then even if you want to look at the unrestricted free agent market, I think everyone's assuming Al Horford is off the board. He's going to Golden State eventually. That's just seems to be what people are saying.
Yeah.
But like,
it's been reported there's an agreement in place. It's just waiting for Kuminga to be finalized.
Right, but there are other guys who are good players who are unrestricted free agents right now that just don't have a home. Malcolm Brogdon, Malik Beasley, who, you know, that's something that happened this week, actually. Malik Beasley got cleared from this gambling investigation, so he can now sign with
someone. He's no longer a suspect. I don't know if it's cleared, but yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. But he's a good player, right? Like
he's really good last year. Yeah,
you know, I don't know, Precious Achua, Cam Payne, Gary Payton II. These are good players. There are good players out there in free agency. I would say there's like a dozen, if you include the restricted guys. Really solid, clear NBA players who just do not. Russell Westbrook, who just do not have a home anywhere right now. And I don't know when that's going to get resolved, or if some of these guys are just, like, is Russ just going to have to hang it up?
Yeah,
I would assume not. Someone just signed overseas. Who was
Damian Lee?
Yeah, Damian Lee just signed overseas. I don't think Russell Westbrook's going to have to go to that. Yeah, that degree. But where did Damian Lee sign with? New Zealand.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was New Zealand. And for him, it's like not that surprising. He hasn't really played since his injury, and when he played last year, he didn't really show much of what he had previously. Russ, it would be surprising. Cam Payne, it would be surprising. There are players out there that I think probably will end up on a roster. And the restricted free agents, I do think it's really interesting that they're being squeezed the way that they are. And, like part of me thinks, is this a sign of what's to come? And part of me looks at the players that it's happening with, and it's like, it's Cam Thomas, it's Kuminga, it's Giddey. None of these guys are like guaranteed max guys. It's really what the Suns should have done with DeAndre Ayton, and I guess they did until another team offered him a max. No team is going to offer these guys a max. No team even has the space for it right now, of course, this late into the offseason. And even Grimes, it's like half a season of great play. Like, how much are you going to pay him for that? So it is sort of working in the way that restricted free agency was intended to work. I don't know how often it's going to happen, but these are the guys that kind of are going to be. It was Jalen Green before, and he signed for a non-max when he signed with the Houston Rockets. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, forget a max. I mean, with these guys, it's like, will someone offer them $20 million? Will someone offer them $25 to $30 million? Is what I think they were all initially hoping for, at least. But
in the hard cap era, basically, like we're talking
no
about
one has
the second
space,
apron.
to your point. So
the schedule was released. Look, I struggle with like schedule analysis every year. It's just hard for me to like. I just go, yeah, we're playing all the same teams that we play every year, and like the worse you are in the Western Conference, the worse your strength of schedule is. The tougher the teams you play are. That's just what the strength of schedule means every year. But there are some interesting things. The Suns have a ton of back-to-backs. Like the other thing that I always look at the beginning of the season, because we're jilted Suns fans, is how many national TV games will they be playing, which is not a lot for the Suns this year, which was no surprise.
Well, but I want to ask you
kind of look at when
Houston,
when we're playing Houston, when we're playing Los Angeles, the Clippers and stuff like that. But yeah.
Well, I'll just tell you for the Clippers right now, we have 3 of our 4 games against the Clippers, same division, so obviously there will be 4 games.
Yeah.
3 of those 4 games against the Clippers. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to say about the Clippers later in this episode as we preview all of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
3 of those 4 games against the Clippers are in the first 2.5 weeks of the season. Yeah. So that's interesting. But I want to ask you about the national TV game thing. So the Suns have, remember, like there's new players now. You got to have Peacock. Got to have
new
Amazon.
national TV. Mm-hmm.
The Suns have, hold on, I have it here somewhere, 9 national TV games. That is tied for 19th in the league. But it's a 3-way tie with the Sacramento Kings and the Indiana Pacers. Now, maybe some people would be disappointed by that. I know traditionally, like in the early days of this podcast, when it was a really bad team, we were always rooting for more and more national TV games every year to try and feature rising stars like Devin Booker. And obviously, to a certain extent, like we still have a superstar in Devin Booker. I want them to be featured on national TV so that other people have a chance to see them. But, like, are you really disappointed that this team is not going to be on national TV 25 times? Because personally, 19th most in the league feels fine to me, is my honest opinion. I don't mind them being out of the limelight a little bit until they can prove that they're actually cooking with something, you know?
It's tough to really care. At this point, most of like last season, most of the national broadcasts were not great. The ones I liked were TNT, and with Kevin Durant on the team, that brought like a whole nother dimension to the TNT broadcasts, because there's always like some weird relationship between KD and those guys for whatever reason. So it was always a little odd to be on TNT. ESPN, they do have one game on ESPN and that's it. But it's kind of weird. I'm just not used to that after the last 5 or so years as Suns fans, 4 years really, but that is in November, and then they have no more games on ESPN the rest of the season. Most of the national TV games are on Peacock.
But keep in mind, so a lot of those are on Peacock exclusively, but a bunch of them are also on NBC.
It's true.
And like in terms of access, the amount of people that are capable of watching a game, it kind of doesn't get better than NBC. Yeah, I know it's annoying to like ask that people have Peacock to be able to watch from other places, but like everyone has NBC. So anytime they're on NBC, you can watch them. Anyone can watch them in the country. The Eastern Conference teams that get national TV games are funny. They're just always funny. Keep in mind, like we all know the Eastern Conference, we'll talk about them on I guess the bonus pod this week, sort of the other half of this exercise, but it's always a disaster. But of course, anytime, every week you're scheduling for the TV slate, you need a doubleheader. You need a team in the 7 o'clock slot Eastern time, and then you need a team in the 10 o'clock slot. So that means half of your national TV games need to be from the Eastern Conference, no matter how bad that conference is. And I just find it really funny. Boston has 25. They're also the Boston Celtics, and there's the history. And
we'll
and
talk about them, but they're going to suck.
There's the media bias that always applies to Boston. But they have 25 national TV games.
It's crazy.
The Celtics. Who is their starting center?
But I don't even know. Tillman? Maybe?
I don't know.
It might be Tillman.
I don't know. I literally
tough, man.
I could not tell you. I literally could not
We'll
tell
find
you.
out on Wednesday or whatever day we do our Patreon pod.
Okay, look, I'm all in for dunking on teams that like underperform in the playoffs. But Boston has one more national TV game than the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
That's very funny. That's the type of thing, like, most of this discourse doesn't really matter. But if I were a Cavs fan and I saw that stat, I would be irate because that is just nonsense. Makes no sense.
Any games that you circled when looking at the schedule that you're looking forward to?
I mean, I will point out, just for all my New Yorkers out there, fellow New Yorkers, I think they're coming to... when are they doing this? Hold on.
Brooklyn is usually when you go. There's one in January.
It's usually either Brooklyn or the Knicks, but yeah, here it is. So they're actually doing something fun this year for me, which is they're playing the Knicks and the Nets in the city back to back. So that might be kind of fun. I might have to go visit home for a few days just for that because I can't remember the last time that's happened. Normally it's like yeah, maybe they're on an Eastern Conference road trip, but they're coming from like Boston or Philly or some other city. It just doesn't work out that they're in the city for a few days. But otherwise, in terms of like actual stuff that's pertinent to the team, all of the Houston games, let's see, the first Houston game is not until it's the November 24th, and that is a Peacock game. So that one. Lakers games, Clippers games. Anyone else?
I don't it's tough because you used to look for the Dallas games, of course, and that's not quite the same. There is a Lakers game on Peacock in December, but the Lakers, I don't know. It's just I don't even feel. I always hate the Lakers. Don't get me wrong, but I don't feel that there's any real rivalry there. And part of it is where the Suns are as a team because of how poor they performed last year. It's tough to look at any of these teams as rivals right now. What am I supposed to think about all these teams when the Suns may or may not be competing for a playoff spot?
If you go just by Vegas, over-unders at this point of the offseason, our biggest rivals right now should be Sacramento and Portland and these other teams that we're trying to push out for the 10th seed or whatever in the Western Conference. So that's what the rest of the league thinks of us. And
late in the season,
it's on them to prove them wrong. And
late in the season, they do have a game on NBC against Portland, and then a few weeks later on NBC against Sacramento. So I think the NBA schedule makers are sort of aware of the teams that are going to be on that bubble trying to get into that play-in spot, and they assume the Suns are going to be one of those teams, and rightfully so. I think we're going to look through the entire Western Conference, and we're going to see why the Suns are included in that today, I think. Strength of schedule-wise, I didn't even look at it. I know the Suns are probably one of the teams with the most difficult schedules, and that's just kind of how it works. They do have, I think, the most back-to-backs, if I'm not mistaken, overall 16 total, which is a lot.
And also
and that
just 3 of the 4 teams in their division are going to be at minimum, pretty good. There's a chance even that Sacramento is also pretty good, although I would never bet on that. But I would say the other 3, the 2 LA teams and Golden State, are at a minimum going to be challenging, and that's 12 of your games right there. So this just always kind of happens to us every single year.
It is what it is. The better you are as a team in the previous year, your schedule doesn't look as difficult. But yeah, if you're in the Western Conference right now, especially, it's going to be pretty difficult. Let's go through the teams. You ready?
What order do you want to go in?
I have it in alphabetical because that's how the NBA.com website.
Okay, you can do that. And if you'd prefer, we don't have to. I have them listed by their over/under predictions, just as of
that's
today.
good. No, well, let's go in order in alphabetical, and you just tell me where they are as far as the over/unders. That's actually a good way of doing it. So alphabetically versus the Dallas Mavericks, who had obviously a more interesting regular season than they did off season, but they did draft the number 1 overall pick. But who they lost is essentially just Spencer Dinwiddie. They added D'Angelo Russell. Kyrie Irving did re-sign on an extension, and then Dante Exum also returned, which I think that was up in the air a little bit, I think, with the Mavericks for Dante Exum. Kyrie Irving, of course, has an injury right now and probably won't play the entire season. If he does play, it'll be late in the season, most likely. And then, of course, they drafted Cooper Flagg last season. As we all know, they traded Luka Doncic. They added Anthony Davis. Truthfully, did not make a ton of changes to their team. As we know, Nico Harrison wants to compete, and he wants to compete now. The Cooper Flagg edition is kind of fascinating within all of that. And, it's difficult to imagine a situation where this team is bad. But if Anthony Davis doesn't play a lot and Kyrie Irving misses almost the entire season, I don't know. Maybe they can be kind of bad. And
I think
they're relying on Dante Exum and D'Angelo Russell to run the offense.
Yeah, so like you said, they brought in D'Angelo Russell. I think it would have been very easy to envision the Mavericks being bad had Cooper Flagg not just fallen in their lap. I don't think people are expecting, or at least if they are, they shouldn't be expecting that Flagg is this year 1 transformational prospect. He just won't be. Or at least, that who am I to say that? But most likely he just won't be. But I think he will keep them steady and solid throughout year 1. And at that point, it's just how much does Anthony Davis play? He's supposed to be good to go for training camp. I think he had a surgery on a retina or something recently.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so, I don't know, maybe he's going to wear goggles going into this year, and we're going to get a different sort of Anthony Davis. But their offense is going to be wonky without Kyrie Irving. And they're going to have to figure it out as best they can with D'Angelo Russell, who, is a capable playmaker, a capable driver, but a questionable everything else. And their defense is just going to be automatically pretty good because that's the personnel they have. They've got Flagg, they've got AD, they've got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford still. They're huge, yeah.
Lively,
yeah. I mean, they have a lot of size in that front
Najee
court.
Marshall is there too. So if you think about it, it's basically the good players, if you will. Kyrie Irving, obviously Anthony Davis. Those are their 2 stars. That's their North Star, if you will. Max Christie, Klay Thompson, still has some left. He's not going to be the Klay Thompson of old, but he's a pretty reliable rotation player at this point. They have Lively, Gafford, as you said, those are their main centers. Najee Marshall, Caleb Martin's on that team as well. Those are the guys that are going to play, along with, of course, D'Angelo Russell and Dante Exum, who re-signed there as well. They got players. That's 9 rotation players that are pretty good. Mm-hmm. And
but they would need a surprise to come somewhere outside of those guys who we just don't see on paper right now. If they wanted to actually be a top 6 team in the West. I should be throwing these out earlier in the conversation, so I'll just say this is from FanDuel just because it's the first one I saw. We have no affiliation here, but they have them at 40.5 as their over-under. That is tied with Memphis for 10th in the West.
That's entirely Kyrie Irving related, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's just how are they going to generate any offense without Kyrie Irving, and that's fair because Anthony Davis's offense at this stage in his career is elbow jumper, right?
And he's good,
yeah.
He's effective, but it's not an effective team offense.
Yeah.
Because he gets to the line, he shoots free throws. He's got some stuff that he can do. Can't shoot threes anymore. The centers, there's a lot of hype around them. Gafford, the fan base really turned on Gafford towards the end of last season. And, if you look at Derek Lively's offense without Luka Doncic, you can question something there too. He was injured and struggled to come back from his injury throughout the season. But it will be an interesting season to see what they're capable of without the offensive engine that it is Luka Doncic, and without the offensive engine that is Kyrie Irving. There's some potential for the bloom coming off the rose a little bit for both of those centers without anyone to feed them the ball. Neither of them have reliable offensive creation on their own. They need guys like Luka, and they don't have him anymore. And it's going to be interesting to see what they look like and how people evaluate them by the end of the season.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Hand-picked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
Who's next?
Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets.
Don't expect, by the way, guys, I mean, I don't think people go to us for this, but, you know, maybe not Zach Lowe level analysis on this pod or anything, as much as it's just kind of throwing out our initial takes about these teams. I will be watching them on the national TV games, but yeah.
Yeah, if anything, this is just to remind me of what happened.
I mean, some of these teams, like when we get to New Orleans, Utah, it's like, okay. But anyway, who's the next team? Sorry, you said
Denver Nuggets.
Denver Nuggets. This is actually one that I do have takes on. And
well, I mean, it was one of the biggest moves, I think, of the offseason, trading Michael Porter Jr. for Cameron Johnson, and that's sort of a big move. Dario Saric also left in a trade, but really they got nothing back for him. They also re-signed Bruce Brown and signed Tim Hardaway Jr. to a 1-year deal. And in that Dario Saric trade, I believe, that's where they got Jonas Valanciunas, if I'm not mistaken. That's how they got him. But they traded for Jonas Valanciunas. So in basically overall, what they did is they traded Michael Porter Jr., who is a great shooter and a good scorer on their team, not the smartest player overall on and off the court, apparently, for Cameron Johnson, who does a lot of what Michael Porter Jr. does. Maybe less self-creation overall, but they didn't really need Michael Porter Jr. to do that anyway. Cameron Johnson is a perfect fit around Jokic. They also know how Bruce Brown plays. He's not the Bruce Brown he was 3 years ago, but they know how he plays and how he fits on that team. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to have a good year with this team. It's hard to believe that he wouldn't. And then they have Valanciunas, who can play the minutes where Jokic is off the floor and just be massive.
That's so huge for them. So remember for a while when Valanciunas first came over in that trade, people were saying that Valanciunas was going to go to Europe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he could have absolutely dominated. It reminds me, who was the player who went to Europe a few years ago? Nikola Mirotic, maybe? Like an NBA
and he won
player.
An MVP.
Yeah, who's just like too good to go play in Europe, but went and did
Yeah.
it. And like it's like, okay, now you're the best player in the EuroLeague. Congratulations. Valanciunas would have been that if he just decided to hang up his NBA career. The fact that they convinced him to stay, and now they finally have, he's only going to play like 14 minutes a night. But for those 14 minutes, he's going to provide them a stability that I really feel like they've lacked for years and years and years behind Jokic. I don't even know if this is a hot take. So this team is, FanDuel has them third in the Western Conference at 53.5. I bet you can guess who like first and second are in the conference. My very lukewarm take, I don't even think it's a hot take, but I wouldn't have Houston above Denver.
No.
In this hierarchy. And
I agree.
Houston, I'll just say right here, I'll spoil Houston's. Houston's over-under is 56.5. That's 3 wins more than Denver. I don't see it. I'm way more afraid.
Winning.
I'm way more afraid of the Nuggets than the Rockets, personally. And I know, like, look, both teams are way better than the Suns. Let's be real. But like, if I had to choose which of those teams I'm going against, I don't want to see Jokic in the playoffs with some of this additional depth they have now.
I think that's the perfect way to frame it, because it's not necessarily about regular season wins. I could actually see Houston winning more regular season games than the Denver Nuggets. They're younger, and it's helpful when you're young and you're less injured. if they're able to be less injured. Of course, their star player is a 37-year-old Kevin Durant, at the beginning of next season. But the Denver Nuggets, they have the continuity. Most of these guys have played together forever. They're getting rid of Michael Porter Jr., who is oft injured, for Cameron Johnson, who, don't get me wrong, not the healthiest player, but insanely smart and a better defender overall. And I think can produce at the exact same level of Michael Porter Jr. Maybe not as good at shooting contested threes. I think that's something Michael Porter Jr. is actually extremely good at. But probably better at moving around off the ball and getting open. And I think they traded, it's going to click fast with them, I think.
I think they traded a 99th percentile shooter, to your point, in MPJ, out of this world shooter, generational shooter. I know that's an overused word, but that's what he is.
At his size, it's true, yeah.
They traded that for Cam Johnson, who is a 90th percentile shooter. He's really good, but maybe, hasn't quite lived up to the reputation he had coming out of UNC. But a really, really good shooter still. Really good. Elite.
On a much better contract.
And in addition, Cam is better than MPJ at literally everything else.
Yes, exactly.
Literally everything else. So this was such an easy trade for them to make. And then, Tim Hardaway's going to kill it there. Are you kidding me? Tim Hardaway's going to have open threes all day. I do wonder, this was the team that Russ was on. And Russ, like I said, is still a free agent. I do think, generally speaking, the Nuggets improved from having arguably one of the worst benches in the entire league. But Russ is a consistent source of rim pressure, and there are certain things that he can provide for you on your bench that other guys just can't. And I do kind of wonder where they get that from now. Mm-hmm. But I think this is going to be a really good team.
Bruce Brown played point guard in their title run when Jokic
no doubt,
the
but
floor,
he's not a scoring threat. But he can dribble.
Yeah, with guys around him, Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., that is helpful. And even Valanciunas has offense, man. He still does.
Another guy I forgot to mention earlier when I was listing off guys who are still free agents and who might have to retire, Ben Simmons. No one's picked up Ben Simmons.
Interesting.
Just interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could talk me into the idea that Ben Simmons truly does not deserve an NBA roster spot, but I don't know. He's pretty good.
Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. They have done nothing. They've done nothing.
They've done absolutely nothing.
They have drafted a player. Let me see.
Who'd they draft? I don't even
Alex
remember.
Tui and
okay,
Will Richard. This is late in the second round. So they
Alex have
Tui,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 rostered players and 1 two-way. So they literally have to fill out their bench, which, to my point earlier, they've got their pick. They can just take all of those guys who we mentioned and build a pretty good bench out of it if they want.
It's true. But right now, by the way, what is their over-under? This is probably an interesting one.
No, I got you. They are at 45.5, which is 7th? No, 8th?
It's pretty high.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the league.
It's pretty high. They'll have Steph Curry, they'll have Draymond Green, they'll have Jimmy Butler. So it's based on that alone. This will be the year that they play for the first time in a very long time without Kevon Looney. That's their main player that departed so far. That is what it is. It's not like he's a massive difference maker. But we don't know, as we alluded to, we don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Kuminga. I will say, as much as, people don't want to believe this, the Warriors are 100% in the driver's seat here. They've had offers for him. They understand what's out there. If they wanted to trade him for one of those offers, they could have. He's a restricted free agent, meaning he's technically under contract for 1 more year. Either he gets an offer from another team and forces the Warriors to make a decision, or he has to sign whatever they've offered him. And that's, 2 years, $45 million is something that's been reported, where they're essentially saying, we'll give you an out after your second year too. We'll just sign you for $20 million, and then you can decide what to do after that next year. We can trade you. You can opt out. There's a lot, I think, that the Warriors have done for Kuminga. He believes he's worth more. He believes he can go to a team and get more shots. I don't know what the final resolution is going to be in this situation, but I think the most likely situation is that he returns to the Warriors for this year and they finish out their offseason by signing guys like Al Horford and whoever else they want from that mix of guys that you mentioned. I doubt Russell Westbrook, but
Gary Payton back. I don't know. I don't know. They could go in a bunch of different directions. Look, we know the core of the team is going to be Steph, Jimmy, and I guess Dre. Still deserves to be considered part of the core of that team.
Still one of the best defenders in the NBA.
And if we're just talking about regular season, they killed it in the regular season post-Jimmy trade. So I get that you can't count them out. Well, I think you can count them out as a contender, but I get that you can't count them out as a threat to win in the upper 40s or even 50 games and just be a threat in the Western Conference.
It's going to be fascinating to see. It's difficult to predict anything that could happen. The Suns are in a very similar situation with DeAndre Ayton, a player that probably didn't want to play on the team anymore, and the Suns essentially forced him to, and it didn't go well after that. It all led to him being traded for Nurkic. So it wasn't exactly a situation that was great. And that was with DeAndre Ayton, who showed a lot more than Kuminga. If he does return and he does not want to be there, it's just another thing for them to have to deal with this season with Steph Curry already getting older. And, they're trying to find ways to salvage here the end of Steph Curry's career. They added Jimmy Butler. Right. Is this another thing that they want to juggle? They should have traded him a year and a half ago, exactly like DeAndre Ayton.
So this is the danger of kind of the two timelines promise that the Warriors have been making throughout kind of the... And look, I don't know. They won a championship a few years ago, so maybe you could argue it all worked out. But the difficulty of trying to maintain some semblance of youth while also competing, and the reason why the Kuminga situation coming to a close is so interesting in its sort of finality, is that here we are, we're coming to a resolution with Kuminga. They're going to trade him for something, less value. It's not going to be one-to-one value, but they will get something eventually, right? Even if it's a year from now. And they just
their version of Nurkic.
They just don't have any interesting youth on the roster anymore, too. Yeah. So it's you're not I'm looking at this team right now. Quentin Post he was a second-round pick, right? Who had a solid rookie year, but Podziemski is not going to be that.
He's
good.
Got no star potential. He's a solid role player. I actually think most of the numbers point to them being better when he's on the floor, which is helpful. But, there are guys who just listen to Kerr and get the most out of him. And Kerr gets the most out of him, and he just seems to be one of those guys.
Right.
But, yeah, he's not going to help them win a championship this year.
Moses Moody, still on the team, still contributing, actually. Started a lot of games last year, and he got an extension. And now he makes, I think, over $10 million. But, is just a role player. That's he's 4 years into his career. Moses Moody is going to be a role player. Brandon Podziemski is going to be a smart role player. Quentin Post is going to be a role player. And I guess they really needed some level of clarity that would come with just having one other potential guy to maybe anoint in the post-Curry era that I think, obviously 4 or 5 years ago they were hoping that either Kuminga or Wiseman could be that guy, and it just did not turn out like that. So they're in a difficult situation. They're not true contenders, and their youth is also pretty disappointing. So hard place for them to be. But they did the Jimmy trade, and he's going to make them interesting at least. So I don't know.
I also think if they're healthy in the postseason, nobody's going to want that matchup. That it's just Steph and Jimmy. That's tough.
I guess, but people say that about everyone. Would you rather play, the Spurs with Wemby in the playoffs? Yeah. Would you rather play the Lakers with LeBron and Luka?
I think you rather would.
Really? I don't know. I just feel like people say any team that's a 6th, 7th, 8th seed, this sneaky team, people are always you don't want to see them in the
scary
first
matchup.
round.
They're spooky. Yeah, but the difference is this team has one guy who's put a team on his back and taken him to the finals multiple times, and another guy who has won 4 championships. So there is some level of these guys are clear playoff risers that have done it in the past and are not intimidated by the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, LeBron James deserves a lot of that credit as well, but he's also 3-4 years older than Steph at this point.
We're gonna get there soon, I'm sure, but I can't wait to talk about the Lakers.
Okay, let's talk about
what a fascinating team.
Let's talk about a team going from the Warriors who did the least to a team that did the most. That's the Houston Rockets, and we know a lot of what they did because the Suns were involved. First, let's talk about who left: Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Jock Landale, Cam Whitmore. A weird Cam Whitmore trade, by the way. And who did they add? Clint Capella, Kevin Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith, the big surprise, Josh Okogie, which I forgot about until just now.
Yeah, I forgot about that one too.
They also re-signed Steven Adams, Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green, Jabari Smith Jr. signed a 5-year extension, Jayshawn Tate signed a new extension as well, and Fred VanVleet renegotiated his contract and got a 2-year extension on top of his year. So this is a team that is all in, and they did not have to use all their assets to do it. They still have some flexibility to continue to improve. I think the big surprise out of everything, the Kevin Durant thing was pretty telegraphed pretty early, although we didn't know exactly how it would look, and I was disappointed by the overall haul the Suns got. The Cam Whitmore thing was weird. That Cam Whitmore was essentially not viewed as an asset across the entire NBA, and they just traded him for nothing. So that's a bit of a surprise.
Clint Capella was surprising.
It's true. Played there before, came back.
Yeah, but they have Şengün and they have Steven Adams, and Clint Capella is good. Like, I mean, you know, he's not maybe good enough to be a starting center in the league anymore, but I do think it's interesting that, you know, we partially knew that this was the strategy Houston's committing to. They want to be really big. They want to be really scrappy. They want to grab literally every offensive rebound. But now they've got Capella and Steven Adams and Şengün at center. They've got Jabari Smith, who can play center, but will never have the opportunity to. Kevin Durant, who can play center, probably doesn't ever want to play center, and maybe that's part of their motivation for doing this. Kevin Durant will never have to play center with the Houston Rockets, unless, I don't know, it's for like 2 minutes in occasional stretches. But they've got, you know, Tari Eason, incredible offensive rebounder, who is going to be mostly playing like small forward for them. You know, they're just an absolutely huge team, ridiculously physical team, and loaded up on veterans, to your point as well, because they already have youth that they weren't even playing last year, and guys like Cam Whitmore, guys like Reed Shepherd, who haven't gotten the opportunity to play. So they didn't add any additional rookies this year. They just focused on getting older, getting Dorian Finney-Smith, getting Clint Capella, getting Josh Okogie, although I don't know if he'll see any minutes, but I am rooting for him. I think the Houston Rockets are going to be really good. It doesn't make me happy to say that. So I also still have them behind Denver, though. I also still have big questions, and I'm curious if you do too.
Well, yeah, Fred VanVleet starts, right? Kevin Durant starts. We're assuming Steven Adams and Şengün are starting based on what they did in the last 15, 20 games of the season, and also the fact that they signed Capella. Who's the fifth starter? Who's going to start for them? Maybe this is like a dumb, don't pay attention to the Houston Rockets kind of question here.
Wait, but who did you say?
Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, and then Steven Adams and Şengün. You
think Steven Adams and Şengün are gonna start together for sure?
That's what people are saying. I mean, that seems to be the direction that they're heading.
Then Amen Thompson has to be the fifth guy, right?
I guess it has to be.
They're not going to bench him, right?
So, I just, it's just kind of interesting to go. They traded for Kevin Durant to have offensive creation. That's a lot of offensive creation that's going to be on Kevin Durant's back, and
yeah,
based on the last few years of Kevin Durant, I don't know how good that is.
Oh, yeah. So here's the deal. The Rockets were 13th. They won a lot of games last year. Yes, they did. They were 13th in offensive rating last year. And their ability to be a true contender that potentially could beat a team that we haven't talked about yet, but the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we all know are still sitting at number 1 in the conference, the power ranking. If they want to beat a team like the Thunder, they have to be better than 13th in offensive rating. And the requisite question is simply replacing Jalen Green with Kevin Durant, which if you boil it all down, yes, there are other guys. Yes, they added Clint Capella. They lost Dylan Brooks. But really, it's you replace Jalen Green with Kevin Durant. Is that by itself, and then maybe hoping for a bit of internal development, enough to take you from the 13th best offensive team to ideally a team that is at the very least in the top 10? You'd hope to be in the top 5.
They're also going to be starting 3 non-3-point shooters in that starting lineup. If this is what they do.
This was a team last year. I want to remind people. Yes, they were very good. They won a lot of games. They were also dead last in passes made per game. They were bottom 5 in potential assists. That's, where guys can miss a shot, still a potential assist. And they were bottom 3 in actual assists. and they replaced Jalen Green, who I admit is not a good playmaker, with Kevin Durant, who frankly is also not a good playmaker.
Yeah.
I feel like I've watched enough Kevin Durant to be able to say that. So if they had better playmakers around KD, and I understand what they're doing, they're insulating him with as much physicality as they possibly can. And I don't disagree with that strategy. It's just like at the end of the day, their offense is going to be a lot of 1-pass, 2-pass shoot. Is that good enough to beat the best of the best in the Western Conference? If you ask me, no. That's just my main gripe with them, is that I don't see how they're improving their offense. They're going to have an efficient offense. They're going to shoot a high percentage with the ball in KD's hands. But they'll also probably run into the same issues that the Suns had when they gave KD the ball, which is high turnover rate and low pace and just like not really modern basketball.
Yeah.
And I think you need to play more modern basketball if you want to beat the Thunder.
Not a ton of like off-ball weak side creation. It's really only Fred VanVleet. I think that Amen Thompson, in times where he was trusted to be the point guard, especially if they play extremely fast, Russell Westbrook style ball, he can actually make a lot of those passes and do a lot of interesting things if he was given the opportunity to do that. But did they trade for Kevin Durant to give the ball to Amen Thompson when Fred VanVleet and Kevin Durant on the floor? I doubt it.
And Şengün too.
And Şengün,
certain amount of touches too.
And when KD has the ball, who's setting the screen? You know, like is it gonna be Şengün? Is it gonna be? It should.
I mean, a KD Şengün pick and roll action is gonna be
with
great.
Steven Adams in the dunker spot. And
I just would not do this thing where you start Steven Adams. I don't see why that's a necessity here. But yeah, if they're gonna do that, then it's gonna look weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think no matter what, they'll be good. Because they're just a team that's built to be a really good defense. And if they have a really good defense for 82 games with a coach that keeps them honest defensively, they'll win a bunch of games. And, you know, they'll be good no matter what. But like in the conversation that we had earlier when talking about Denver, OKC, Houston, they're third to me out of those three contenders. And like there's a world where Houston gets knocked out in the first round, and I'm not totally shocked, depending on who the opponent is. But, you know, there's also a world where they win a championship, and it's not completely surprising either. So, like, it could go either way here. But I personally lean towards the side that OKC and Denver are just a little bit above them in their overall team makeup. You know, but if they do win, like, it would look a lot like what OKC did, because OKC, they didn't exactly shoot the lights out to win their championship.
No, not at all.
And they did it based on like an otherworldly level defense. And if they find a way to reach that level of defense and win without shooting a ton of threes, without making a ton of threes, that's probably what it will look like. But it's hard to envision that, you know, especially with that lack of spacing. What's impacted Kevin Durant in the playoffs is like ultra physicality, no space to move. And I don't know. He's a year older every year. And yeah, we'll see. All right, who do we have next here? Oh, here we go. The Clippers.
The other team. Okay, I'll just ask it this way. What would be more personally catastrophic to you? The Rockets winning a championship or the Clippers?
Rockets.
Yeah, I think so too. But I view the Rockets as an actual threat to do it. I don't view the Clippers as an actual threat to do it. And I guess we'll talk about it now. What's your take on the Clippers?
If Chris Paul won a championship, I would just be happy for him.
That's true. They do have Chris Paul. I forget that they have Chris Paul.
So
my love for Chris Paul outshines my hate for Bradley Beal. That is true.
I feel so indifferent about Bradley Beal. Like I don't know. It's so. Let's just talk about what they did. Leaving the team, Amir Coffey, Drew Eubanks, Norman Powell. Norman Powell trade with the Heat. Pretty interesting trade. They re-signed Batum. Harden also extended. And, of course, they were able to get Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Brook Lopez, pretty underrated signing there. They're going to have good center minutes every minute on the floor.
Yep, because they also still have Zubats.
John Collins, that was the Norman Powell trade. And then Ty Washington. I don't know if you saw that, but Ty Washington is now on the Clippers as well, which I'm happy for him. And I actually think it's a good team for him to join because he's just going to be Terrence Mann basically. Like, this is just something that they've used guys like him before, and I have a feeling they're going to do a good job there. But they obviously still have James Harden. Kawhi Leonard will play the games that he plays. We don't know how many that'll be in a year, but he played quite a bit last year, and he stayed pretty healthy throughout their time, including the playoffs. How good are they? They were better last year than you and I anticipated them being. We both bet the under in our betting podcast, which we'll do later, before the season starts as well. And they smashed the over there. But they are one of the oldest teams. Their best additions were Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, John Collins, and Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez, Chris Paul, and Bradley Beal. Look, Bradley Beal is significantly younger than those guys, but not based on his body. Like, his body is built as old as Chris Paul's at this point of his career. John Collins is still relatively young.
John Collins weirdly going to be one of the youngest players in their rotation, and I don't think that's hyperbolic. And John Collins has been in the league for like 9 years. This team, in 2018, if you assembled this cast of players together, they're really threatening the peak Warriors, I think, for that single season wins record.
Right.
You would have Kawhi. You'd have
with two MVPs, basically, yeah.
You would have young Kawhi, prime Harden, still really, really, really good Chris Paul.
Yeah.
You'd have Brook Lopez at a better place in his career. John Collins would still be in the league, just sort of on the come up. I mean, they would be.
Bradley Beal is averaging 30 points a game. Yeah.
And Bradley Beal averaging 30 points per game. Like, this team 7 years ago makes so much sense. This team now in 2025 is just weird. So basically, they lost Norm Powell, who is really good. But then they added Beal, CP3, Brook Lopez, and John Collins. Like, obviously, that is such a clear upgrade, like, in terms of talent on paper. One weird thing about it, though, when we just talk about the fit, this team was already 29th in three-point volume last year. And guess who was taking those threes? Like, the few that they did shoot. Norm Powell.
Yeah, Norm Powell, one of the best off-movement shooting threes. He probably was top 3-point shooter off movement last year.
And so who's replacing that? Like, you already basically worst in the league, and they were a good team. They were, and they will be a good team again. They'll figure it out. But my point being, you already weren't taking threes. You lost your best 3-point shooter. You replaced him with Beal, who kind of wants to have the ball in his hands more. It seemed like was one of his complaints in Phoenix, and still takes a lot of mid-range shots. Chris Paul has gotten better about mostly just shooting threes in the past couple of years as he understands his career is winding down, but he's not going to be this great source of 3-point volume, nor is John Collins. Brook Lopez, I'll give you that. He shoots threes. Yeah, but at a different position and not off movement. So,
and like 4 a game maybe coming off the bench if you're lucky.
It's just a weird team. Kawhi's health, as always, is going to make or break them. Bradley Beal is just a loser. I mean, I understand he's talented, but he's an unserious. He's not a serious person.
If there's a world where only Bradley Beal or Chris Paul can get minutes like halfway through the season, I'd put all my chips in that it would be Chris Paul.
I would just absolutely love to be a fly on the wall watching Chris Paul and Bradley Beal interact in practice this year.
Yeah, maybe Chris Paul will fix him, right?
I don't know. I would think that Chris already just like doesn't really respect him as a professional. Like, maybe understands like some of the personal accolades and like that he's a really talented player, but there's no way, knowing what he knows about Brad, that he can really respect him as a professional. What? It's not like he's going to listen to this, No,
like, you're right.
Matter. But
unfortunately, overall,
such a weird team, dude.
Just to wrap it up with them, unfortunately, they're going to be good.
They are.
But
they're probably going to kick our ass. They're probably going to kick our ass 3 out of these 4 times.
And two of them, I believe, are on national TV. But I think there's a world where if one of their main 2 guys gets hurt, they're not going to be a great team. But I do think they'll be pretty good. They're going to not be a bad team. It's just tough it's tough to bet on old teams, especially with the way the NBA is going now. That's why there's, like they're probably like 5th or 6th in the conference, and they're still good because it's a really good conference. But that's not quite what you would expect when you just read the names out loud, just because of their age.
If Kawhi gets hurt and plays like, how many games did Kawhi play last year? He played 37. Okay, if Kawhi plays 37 games again this year, they should just run their offense through Zubats. Just have Harden dishing out 14 assists a game. He'll take his threes. But Powell is gone. Beal isn't that guy. CP isn't that guy. Just run your
And
offense.
Chris Paul can set up Zubats really well too. So yeah.
Run your offense through Zubats, post hooks, and just have him averaging 25 and 10 like he's Al Jefferson and it's 2014, and just like see what you're gonna do with that, and then be really good on defense, because they will be really good on defense.
Yeah. Los Angeles Lakers.
Another really fun team to talk about.
Leaving the team, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jordan Goodwin on the Suns now, trade Jameson and Shake Milton. Re-signing, they somehow got Luka Doncic to re-sign, not for the total max he could re-sign for, too, I believe. They actually got a good deal on him. Jackson Hayes also returned on a 1-year deal. And, of course, they added DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, and Marcus Smart. Of those three guys, which one are you the most excited for? Is it Jake LaRavia?
I think Marcus Smart was a good acquisition for them.
It's a good acquisition, but like he hasn't been good in a while.
He's been mostly bad and not available for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I still think he has the potential. What'd they get him for? A minimum? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it was. Like it's not much.
Like Marcus Smart on a minimum. I remember
might be a little
complaining
more.
that the Suns didn't do that. Okay, maybe it was like a
$4 million
biannual
or whatever,
exception or taxpayer mid-level or whatever. That's a good move. Getting a guy like Marcus Smart for that money. That's a good move.
I agree.
Unfortunately, it's wiped out by the fact that DeAndre Ayton just brings massive negative aura with him. You get minus 1 million aura points for signing DeAndre Ayton on this team, unfortunately.
It's true.
Where do you want to start? You want to talk about Ayton?
Sure.
Is he going to look good and motivated with a full season next to LeBron and Luka? Because
Sometimes.
that's obviously what Lakers fans are counting on.
Sometimes.
And in theory, they could be really good if that were true for a full season of 82 games plus however many in the playoffs.
He'll look good sometimes. He'll look bad sometimes. That's what he is. That's just what he is. And when he looks bad, he'll look awful.
I want to
remind people. And when he looks good, he'll just look good. He won't look great. It's not like he'll be creating shots or getting to the free throw line. He'll just be doing the things that he does, setting screens, rolling to the rim. There will be games where he rolls hard. There will be games where he rolls lazy. There will be games where he doesn't fight for rebounds. There will be games where he doesn't fight to defend guys at the rim. And it's just, we know exactly what he is at this point. And truthfully, post Suns, it only got worse with him. And the idea that he'll somehow bounce back and be as good as he was on the Suns, which even when he was on the Suns, he was just only sometimes good. I don't know. It's just like, they have fun with him, Los Angeles Lakers.
Look, I'm glad
you're not a contender. Lakers, you're not a contender. So don't worry about it.
Oh, I haven't been listing out. So the Clippers were 49.5, and the Lakers are
for them actually.
And the Lakers are 48.5. Just to give us closure there.
Okay.
Yeah, the Lakers.
Well, they're counting on skinny Luka. That's their real addition.
He
looks in shape right now.
They're counting on skinny Luka. Yeah, so that's 3 games ahead of the Warriors at 45.5. They won 50 games last year. And if you just look at the guys they added versus the guys they lost, they added talent. I like Jake LaRavia. I do.
But the best of the 4 players, if you look at DeAndre and Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, and Dorian Finney-Smith, the best player of those 4 is Dorian Finney-Smith,
who they lost. Also, I will just say about Ayton, because I had to look this stat up. The Blazers were 6.5 points better with Ayton off the floor last year. And who was playing when Ayton was off the floor? Donovan Clingan.
Yeah,
a rookie,
and Duop Reith, but they were better with Reith too.
A little bit of Duop Reith, a little bit of Robert Williams, who was mostly injured the vast majority of the season. But most of those minutes, a 20-year-old rookie in Donovan Clingan, who was a good rookie, had a good campaign, but like not necessarily. You don't expect those guys to come in and anchor a team to be net neutral with their net ratings, right? But Clingan did. And then they were a negative whenever Ayton touched the floor. Yeah. And so it's just a faith-based argument for Lakers fans to say, oh, but Ayton's going to suddenly care because he's playing with LeBron and Luka.
And we're talking about a team, by the way, that was willing to run pin downs for DeAndre and to shoot mid-range shots. That's what they did in Portland. They were giving him what he wanted, and they still were worse with him on the floor. If the best defense they have for him to be good is that he didn't care to try in the last 2 years, then that's a player who didn't care to try. There's no defending him at this point. We all know. But they still have Luka Doncic. They still have LeBron James. So
another fly on the wall conversation I'd love to have is watching JJ Redick interact with Ayton in practice. That's another one because he's going to drive him crazy.
I would love. He will never say anything to us about it, but I would love if he did.
Maybe so you think? Yeah, no, you're not getting that info, bro. You think the Lakers? So they're at 48.5. Clippers are at 49.5. You think they're obviously worse than the Clippers?
Yes, I do.
Even given how much better Luka. Forget skinny Luka.
If Luka plays 75 games, the Lakers could win more games. He's that good.
The
he's
Clippers'
just
best
one of
player
the 3 or 4
James Harden.
guys. Yeah, he's one
Who's
of the 3 or 4
worse.
guys that could get you to 50 wins just by playing the whole season.
Exactly.
So, it's just about, and if he's skinny and he does stay healthy, then yeah, I think part of the reason he struggled is because he was out of shape so much. And look, some people look at him being skinny and said, we've seen this before. He got out of shape during the regular season when he got injured once or whatever. And maybe that'll happen again, but
this time I think he has ulterior motives.
Yes.
It's really like the way that spite is able to motivate you.
100%.
There are certain things I've done in my life that I don't need to get into, but spite is a powerful motivator, dude.
You hear that voice in the back of your head a little bit more.
The Green Goblin mask. Sometimes you got to put it on.
That's right.
Luka's putting it on right now.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's skinny as hell.
The
so
AG Green Goblin mask. Memphis Grizzlies. Another interesting offseason. Desmond Bane. They lost Desmond Bane.
Gone.
Jay Huff, who was good, by the way. Luke Kennard, also gone. Cole Anthony was on the team and then waived, so technically he's gone now too. They re-signed Santi Aldama, who was very good last year. Jaren Jackson Jr. signed a max extension, also very good.
Was it a max?
I think so, yeah. KCP was part of the Desmond Bane trade. Ty Jerome signed on a 3-year deal. And then Jock Landale signed, I believe on a minimum, to the Memphis Grizzlies. The best player of all the players that they either added or lost was very clearly Desmond Bane.
Yeah,
He's a really good player.
So they got 4 picks in that trade, I want to say.
They did.
And so I will applaud them for, having roster flexibility going forward. They do have that.
And just sort of acknowledging that there's no way they can beat OKC, so...
Yeah.
Just take advantage of it now and try and figure out how to make the right move later. It's
just trying to pivot.
Yeah.
While still trying to remain competitive, in theory, do you know how much that Ty Jerome deal was worth? Was that just like a mid-level exception?
It was less than I expected. I can check, but yeah, it wasn't one of those deals that had a ton.
Because I guess Ty Jerome had a really good season with the Cavs. You could say if you squint, well, maybe that's 80% of Desmond Bane's offensive production right there. I think even that might be a stretch, but maybe that's the argument they make.
$28 million.
Yeah, that's nothing for Ty Jerome. The year he just
less
had.
than $10 million a year.
They're 9th in the conference here at 40.5. So a play-in team, and that feels
basically the same as Dallas.
That feels about right to me, I guess. I don't know. I could see things going really poorly for the Grizzlies, but on the other hand, they always kind of find a way.
There's,
to steady the ship.
They have one hand on the plug to unplug the life support. This team, you know what I mean? They could just go the other way if they want to.
Yeah, they could.
Because they did trade one of their 3 best players, and they added nobody of value in that trade. No offense to KCP, Desmond Bane's just way, way, way better. And they still have Jaren Jackson Jr., obviously. They still have John Morant, obviously. But how long is the question for that? Maybe they'll end up being better than anticipated because, I don't know why it would happen that way, but they get something out of their young guys. They have some young guys. Zach Edey was pretty good last year.
Zach Edey, yep.
I don't know how much of a difference maker he'll be overall, but maybe with more opportunity, we'll see.
It's cool that you re-signed Santi Aldama. Is Santi Aldama this is probably Santi Aldama's prime, right? He's not gonna get that much better than he already is, probably. So yeah, they just have a lot of guys like that. But that's always how they've operated. They find these diamonds in the rough out of nowhere who are already 23 years old when they're rookies, or sometimes even older. And then they lock in good role players for 6, 7, 8 years. But getting the star is going to be the issue, and it's pretty hard to land a star when you're paying Jaren Jackson Jr. as much as you are, when the John Morant thing hasn't turned out the way you wanted to, but at least they have draft picks, so who knows? Maybe they'll strike gold eventually.
And technically they have a new coach. He's a Finnish coach. He was the guy who stepped in for Taylor Jenkins when he was fired. Tomas Isalo. I don't know exactly how to say his name, so apologies if I'm saying that wrong. But
justice for Taylor Jenkins. Is he not even like an assistant anywhere? He's taking the year off?
That's a good question.
I feel like I just haven't heard
yes,
anything
he
about
is.
it.
I just looked it up.
Okay.
He's not currently coaching, so we'll see what he ends up doing. Maybe he'll be a consultant. I think that's one of those things that coaches do where they don't have to give up money for their previous team if they're just a consultant and not a coach. So we'll see.
You think this team's definitely better than us? They're 9 wins. They're 9 wins better in this, according to FanDuel. 40 versus 31. I don't know that I see a 9-win difference.
Yeah, like Ja Morant doesn't play the whole season too. So if Ja Morant misses half the season, I don't know how much better they are than the Suns at that point. We just got Ty Jerome running pick and rolls with Jaren Jackson Jr. with KCP on the wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
And I mean, Santi Aldama and Zach Edey, and I don't know, they're like, they're fine. They're fine. But I don't know. I'm not saying like we're definitely going to be better than the Grizzlies. I just think it's probably pretty close between us two teams.
Yeah. We'll see. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson
that
Jr.
take could age poorly, of course.
Yeah, well, if they play the whole season, Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., that's just a better 1-2 punch than the Suns have, and more positionally diverse in a way that if the Suns get a really great season out of both Jalen Green. Yeah. If the Suns get a great season at both Jalen Green and Devin Booker, it's helpful, but like to have one of those guys be a big would help even more. Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Garza, Josh Minott. They added they re-signed Joe Ingles, Julius Randle, Naz Reid. They added nobody of merit here to this team, but they are essentially coming back with the same team without Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was somebody I think was important to their team. Let me look up who they drafted. I'm sure I don't know that they had a pick now that I'm thinking about it.
No, they got Berenger from France and then Zakarsky in the second round. So they took centers, which, Rudy's getting up there, so I guess that makes sense. This is a weird one. They're at 49.5, and I think that totally makes sense. That puts them tied with the Clippers for basically one of those teams is 4th or 5th in the West. And they're one of those pivot teams in the West that I think, could go either way, and they could ascend the rankings or they could slide a little bit. But if I were a Wolves fan, I'm disappointed with this offseason because you're basically telling me you lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I know can play, and you added nobody? And then you're just running it back, and Mike Conley, who already sucks, is a year older. I have to watch Mike Conley play again. And I don't know. They're fine. Yeah.
The Julius Randle roller coaster dictates that this year he'll be bad.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. So you don't get 2 good years from Randle in a row.
Is it a binary system like that where it's 1 year good, 1 year, or is it
may
more
not
of like
be.
a?
That's how my brain thinks of it. So
does it follow the Chinese New Year, like depending on it's the year of the I don't know what the animals are in the Chinese calendar. I'm sorry, folks, but maybe it's more complicated with Julius Randle, is what I'm saying.
That's interesting. I'm gonna take a quick peek at some of his advanced stats just because it's a stupid thing to do. So it would be kind of interesting. But it's very clear, as I looked that up, that they are betting on Anthony Edwards ascending and continuing to ascend, which I think is a relatively fair bet overall. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start in 2018-19. I'm just going to read out VORP for Julius Randle. 18-19, which he was pretty good. That season, he had a VORP of 2. The next season, 0.9. The next season, 2021, 3.9. So he went back up. That's where
that was the All-NBA season with the Knicks?
And the All-Star year. And then the season after that, back down to 1.6.
Yep, they hated him again.
Yep, and then following season, 22-23, back up to 3.9, which he was an All-Star again that year.
That was like the Brunson ascension year, but he was like the rock-solid number 2. Yep.
Yep, and then back down to 1.6 in his last year with the Knicks, and then back up, and this is his year with the Minnesota Timberwolves, to 1.8. So yes, it literally does, from 2018-19, go back and forth from better to worse every year.
Well, luckily for them, Anthony Edwards, I think, legitimately has gotten better every year in the league.
Yeah.
Only by a little bit. He still hasn't had that, like, oh my God, he's truly in the MVP conversation. Like, he's one of the top 5 players in the league. Like, he has not done that yet. but the 3-point volume last year, his ability to dissect multiple forms of defense and just like see the floor better against all sorts of defensive coverages, he's got it at this point. Ant's got it. You can have faith in him as a number one. And I guess that's ultimately why Minnesota is just expected to be up here in the conference standings. But yeah, they just didn't add anyone. I don't know if I'm a Timberwolves fan right now. I don't know what I'm supposed to project forward. Like, it's optimism season, but how am I supposed to be that optimistic? I just don't see anything on my team. So that's tough.
We are over an hour into this podcast already. It's already going long, which I knew it would, but we have yet to talk about a team that's guaranteed to be worse than the Phoenix Suns, right? Not to make it kind of depressing.
I don't know.
Here,
I don't know. Which team are you talking about?
None of them. I don't think any of them are guaranteed to be worse than the Suns.
I think I think there is one team in the West. I think there are a couple teams in the West that will be, but aren't guaranteed.
We're here now. That's why I'm bringing it up. The New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay, yeah, they're one of them. But they're not the team that is guaranteed. There is one team that is... If this team... I'll just say it. If the Utah Jazz are not... If we are worse than the Utah Jazz this year, guys, then I don't know what went wrong. I mean, probably that means Devin Booker missed 82 games. I think that's the only way I could see that being the case. But yeah, let's talk about the Pelicans.
Okay, so the Pelicans, Bruce Brown was on that team. He's gone. CJ McCollum's gone. He's on the Wizards. Kelly Olynyk, also part of that trade. They re-signed Herb Jones, 3-year extension. Sadiq Bey, Kevon Looney, Jordan Poole joined. No, not one good player of the bunch there, sorry to say. Jordan Poole, not that bad. Kevon Looney, fine. They also drafted Derek Queen, traded their future.
Did they trade for Sadiq Bey? When was the last time Sadiq Bey played?
They did.
He missed. Okay, he missed all of last year, I think.
He was part of the CJ McCollum trade as well.
Right, that's salary filler.
Yeah. They're not going to be good. Zion, if Zion plays a lot and plays well, then there's a world where they are okay. But this is just too tough of a conference for that to even, make a functional difference towards their overall standings. They have some good players. They have some interesting players. Herb Jones re-signing, I think, was smart for them, even if he's not necessarily part of their overall future. And
I would love to find a way to rescue. I would love to find a way to rescue Trey Murphy from this team. I don't know how you do it. That's the question
for him. He's on a good contract. He's signed for a while. Actually, not that long, I believe. I don't know his exact contract figures, but
yeah, he just signed an extension and he signed through 2029. So 4 more years. 4 more years at like 25 through 30.
Yeah, on a non-max.
And he averaged 20 points per game last year. Maybe doesn't quite shoot the lights out, but like really, really good shooter still. More playmaking chops than he had previously.
Yes, his overall creation for himself, I think, has gotten much better over the last 2 seasons as well. Just to sort of become a more well-rounded offensive player, and has the length to be an excellent defensive player, which he's shown at times but doesn't always show. But on the right team with the right culture, I think the defense could click for him in a way in the playoffs that, it just can't for guys who don't have that length. But they're kind of run by one of the dumber executives now, and, their whole future is sort of up in the air as well as a team, which sucks. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for Pelicans fans, but, I don't know how much that's a distraction for the players on the court. Maybe they don't give a shit, but it's difficult to imagine this team being good. What's their over-under?
Great question. Their over-under is 29.5.
Yeah.
14th.
So that is lower than the Suns.
It's lower. Yeah, it's one of only 2 teams that are lower.
And I think they probably will be worse than the Suns. They just don't have a player at Devin Booker's level.
Yeah. They don't have a player at Devin Booker's level. They have to give a lot. I mean, we're going to be playing Malawach, and we understand that Malawach is a project, but they're going to be giving a lot of minutes to Derek Queen. There was that much maligned Derek Queen trade that they did on draft night. They also need to give some minutes to Jeremiah Fears, who's a skinny rookie guard, who I think has a lot of potential as like a shot creator, but he's a skinny rookie guard who's probably going to be really bad in year 1. Yves Missi was actually good. Yves Missi is, like, if I'm a Pelicans fan, that's a guy to be excited about him playing minutes. He had a good rookie year.
Yeah, he is good, but he is pretty limited in his overall ceiling. I think he can be a pretty good defensive player and a rim runner, but I don't know how much else he's going to add.
Yeah, that's fair. Is Jordan Poole going to play a lot on this team? What's the idea with him?
He might have to. CJ McCollum's gone.
Yeah. What a weird trade. Okay, yeah, they're gonna be bad. We don't need to spend any more time on the Pelicans.
We also don't need to spend much time on this next team. It's the OKC Thunder. They're going to win 60-plus games. I'd be shocked if they didn't. They just re-signed everyone. They didn't really add anyone else. That's technically
literally
not true.
Imagine being so cocky in your ability that you're just like, we're good. we're happy with what we have. And honestly, it's one of the only times I can think in NBA history where it's like they're totally justified in feeling that way. Yeah. Like the Thunder didn't really have to sweat that hard in the playoffs last year, and all of their young guys just got an extra year of hard experience, grinding through the playoffs and confidence, and they didn't have to do anything. And the Hartenstein and Caruso acquisitions paid off amazingly for them last year, so they didn't have to go out and get anyone else. They're fine.
They also added a player, Nikola Topic, who they drafted technically 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, who had a torn ACL.
Yes, but he is healthy now. He played in Summer League, and he just is one of those guys that has really high potential. They drafted him while he was injured, I believe, so they got him pretty late. And, he's a 6'6" point guard. He could be really good. We don't really know, but it's just one of those players where OKC has thought it out in a way where once these guys have to leave because they're getting pushed on the second apron, they still have the ability to add young, cheap talent behind them to potentially be good for a very long time. And this is one of those examples. So we'll see how good they are. But they're the favorites.
They continue to have guys buried in their rotation who are super young and could be really, really, really good, but maybe just haven't been featured yet. Like Cason Wallace, who's a part of their rotation and definitely is important for the defense, and he plays. But I don't know, Cason Wallace is I don't think he's 22 yet. That could be a near star level player one day, and maybe there just aren't the touches for him and in the OKC ecosystem currently. So they just have guys like that, and they're going to continue to be really good. Their over-under here is 62.5. I totally understand them potentially going under on that just by virtue of certain injuries happening or kind of not taking the regular season super seriously. But come playoffs, everyone knows who the king of the West is. Everyone knows. And I think the Rockets and the Nuggets, they're technically both there. They're competing for that number one spot, but I think there's a big gap, honestly. There's a big gap.
Portland Trailblazers, interesting offseason for them. Obviously, bought out DeAndre Ayton in a surprise buyout, something nobody really anticipated. They traded Simons to the Celtics for Drew Holiday. Damian Lillard returned. That's the big surprise there. They have, three? Damian Lillard probably not going to play this year, obviously. No. But they essentially have 3 point guards, Drew Holiday, Scoot, Damian Lillard. They're going to try to compete this year, it seems. They could still trade Drew Holiday if they pivot at some point and try to get something for him. Overall, I think that's still a smart trade. If they think they could be good, they could try with Drew Holiday. If it doesn't work, they still have the opportunity of trading him later and can get some value from that. Surprised they gave up on Simons, but not entirely. I think culturally they're trying to build a team that's built around tough defense, and he's one of the worst defenders in the NBA. So how good will they be? I don't know. What is their over-under? Actually, I'm curious how close theirs is.
33.5, 2 games ahead of us.
So they're projected to be better than the Suns. I don't think that's any sort of guarantee. I think this is another team that does not have a player on Devin Booker's level at all.
No, they straight up do not. But I get it. Yeah. Maybe this is the year. Scoot was encouraging towards the back half of
They were, I think, a top 10 defense and even maybe close to the top 5 in the last few months of the season. Now, that is the weirdest era the weirdest point of the season to point at. But they clicked defensively. And if they can click defensively again next season and squeeze some offense out of guys and not have to play DeAndre Ayton, it's not completely out of the question that they're better than the Suns, but this is one of those teams that I think will be around the level of the Suns.
Not only do they not have to play DeAndre Ayton, but maybe now they can play Yang Hansen.
That's right.
The Chinese rookie who will just immediately come in and whip around crazy passes and juice their offense.
Yep.
I do think in reality he's probably 3rd or 4th on their center depth chart because they still do have Robert Williams. They've got Klingon. They have Duop Reith still. But yeah, they have a fun team. They still have Tumani Kamara, who all of us kind of whine about the fact that he's not a Sun.
Yeah.
But
Still wish he was. Jeremy Grant, who's still on that team. Sacramento Kings. We have 3 more teams still, so let's try to get
really
through.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Kings, Spurs, Jazz. Sacramento Kings lost Jake LaRavia, Jonas Valanciunas, re-signed Doug McDermott. Nothing of consequence there. In additions, I should say, they added Drew Eubanks, Dario Saric, and Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder, the only real player that's going to be part of a team here. Drew Eubanks and Dario Saric are scraps, I think, at this point. Sorry to them. Well, sorry to Saric. Drew Eubanks is not a bad guy, don't get me wrong, but just not very good. Schroeder's going to be their starting point guard. They basically did not have a point guard post-Fox trade last year. They supposedly still want Russell Westbrook, and to have Russell Westbrook be their backup point guard, maybe that's what they end up doing. I'm not sure if they have the roster spot or if they can create one. But, that starting five was Schroeder.
I thought I heard something about they want to get rid of Malik Monk to create the roster spot.
He's on the trade block, yeah.
So they want to get rid of Malik Monk.
Well, Monk was the guy they were trying to get Kuminga with, too. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I get that they need another point guard. Sign Cameron Payne. I don't know. Like, don't trade Malik Monk, who averaged 17 and almost 6 assists last year, for nothing, or like some sort of salary dump type trade where you don't get good value back, just to create a roster spot to sign Russell Westbrook. It would be wild if that's what they end up doing.
Mm-hmm. This is not a very good team, in my opinion. Schroeder, I think, can have games where he's really good. Obviously very good on the German national team. We've talked about that before. Just it looks like an all-star when he plays with that team. But he also has the ball in his hands constantly. And he's going to be on a team that has Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk.
And Sabonis.
Who needs the ball, too. So, yeah. I don't know. It's still smart that they added Schroeder. I think he can still be an effective player for them, get the ball down the court relatively quickly, and run pick and rolls, especially in crunch time. He's actually a pretty good crunch time player. But I don't know. I just really don't like this team. I don't even think they're going to be terrible. I just don't like most of the players on it, so it's difficult for me.
I mean, their over-unders at 34.5, which sort of reflects that, right? Like, if you have 3 players as talented as DeRozan, LaVine, and Sabonis, it's hard to envision truly bottoming out and being like a 20-win team, right? Those are 3 solid players. That's 60 points per game guaranteed right there. But you're just not going to be good. Mm-hmm. You're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see their path to being good. I definitely understand why they're ranked above the Suns here. But, like, I don't know. I would hope that something can gel in terms of our chemistry or maybe Jordan Knott's offense or something that would allow us to win more games than the Kings. Because, I'm not very high on the Kings at all. I do like Sabonis. I do like DeRozan. I like those 2 guys. But
if the Suns can put together a decent defense, they'll be better than the Kings. But if there's a problem at the center position, if Mark Williams can't put up career-high rim protection numbers and Malawach isn't ready, then, that could lead to them having a not great defense, and then that would be the world where the Sacramento Kings are just clearly better. So we'll see. I think that'll be an interesting team. Spurs, Fox re-signed. Mm-hmm. Fox re-signed. McLaughlin re-signed. Jordan McLaughlin, I should say. They lost Malachi Branham. Mamu. Chris Paul is gone. Blake Wesley also left. They added Luke Cornett. Kelly Olynyk, which I didn't even realize that happened until right now. He was traded from the Wizards there. That's a good addition for them. Lindy Waters also agreed to a deal. And then, of course, had the 2nd overall pick. Drafted Dylan Harper. They also had, I believe, was it the 10th? Oh, no, not the 10th, because that was the Suns.
Carter Bryant, the guy from Arizona.
Yeah, they drafted him in the 1st round as well. Maybe 14th or something like that. Yeah, 14th. So added some young, good talent. Potentially great talent, I think, if they work out in the way that the Spurs anticipate them working out. And, of course, are relying on a massive year from Wemby, who left last year with a blood clot, but they anticipate that he'll be available to play at the beginning of next year. Could be a good team. Could be a mediocre team. But
it could be really either like totally mediocre or just like, oh, man, they're ready to take the leap. I think they did the right thing here, though. Like, we pitched San Antonio here as a KD team, and I still absolutely, I would have preferred to trade KD to San Antonio, maybe gotten a better return, right? Like a Castle package or something. But I understand why they didn't go for anything like that, because they feel they have time. Dylan Harper's going to be a rookie. Castle's going to be 1 year older. Carter Bryant, to your point. And then I think just taking a conservative approach with bringing in multiple veteran big men, not just Luke Cornett, to your point, but also Kelly Olynyk, so that Wemby can just sort of focus on being like an offensive engine kind of power forward guy, and he's always going to have a big man next to him. Will be good.
What's their over-under, actually? This is one that I would be interested to see. Like, is it in the 40s?
Yeah, it's 43.5, which puts them at the 8th seed.
That's pretty high. It's pretty high.
I mean, it just depends on Wemby, right? Can they win games outside of, Wemby? Devin Vassell has kind of stalled out in his career. He's been kind of disappointing. Keldon Johnson has absolutely stalled out in his career.
So they're relying on Fox and Wemby to just be star players to lead them to over 40 wins in the toughest conference we've seen in a long time. Or then maybe
Castle takes a bit of a leap, or Dylan Harper is like a little bit ready in year one.
It's a lot to ask for them. It's they could win over 40 games. They could
43 wins. That's like, I don't think that's too much for this.
No,
team.
It's not. But it would put them like, if they win 43 wins this year with playing two rookies a lot of minutes, which they probably are, it's kind of scary for how good they could be in the future. That's just all I mean, because it's a situation where they do have some good players. De'Aaron Fox, obviously, I don't know, top 15 point guard, whatever you want to call him. I don't even know where I'd rank him. Wemby could be a top 10 player like next year. That's something that could happen. So that's enough to get you to 40 wins. It's just the conference is really tough, as we've talked about throughout this entire podcast. And it'll be interesting to see where they end up landing.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know that I would bet the over on that one, though.
Teams don't improve linearly, of course, like this often, but OKC is a recent example. They did. They went from 24 wins in 2021-22. So they had 24 wins, then they had 40 the next year, then they had 57, lost in the second round, and then this last year, obviously 68 and won the finals. So this would be like San Antonio's 500 level OKC season, right? Where it's like what it took for OKC 2 years ago to win 40 games was, I mean, at the time, Chet didn't exist, and Jalen Williams, I guess, did exist. Jalen Williams was like a good rookie, so that would be your Dylan Harper. Like, Dylan Harper has to have a good rookie season. And then that was Shea's first year of, he's an MVP candidate, which I guess you'd be asking, in this example, Wemby to be doing.
Which,
that's possible.
Not completely insane, yeah. He's that good, or he was. He's the best defender in the NBA. Like, I think, he could be the best defender in the NBA next year. So you start there, and then combine that with the fact that his offense gets better every time he's on the court, it seems, then I don't know. He could be that good. Last team, Utah Jazz. There was some speculation. Could the Utah Jazz be pivoting to trying to win this year?
That speculation answered with a resounding no from Danny Ainge.
It's pretty definitive. They are not trying to compete this year. They lost Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Johnny Juzang, Colin Sexton, Jaden Springer, all NBA players. They added Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, which I forgot about that, actually. Part of that Heat trade.
Is he going to play?
Doubt
for
it.
them?
I can't imagine living in Utah.
I can imagine. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
It seems like a guy who really liked living in Miami.
No, that's an interesting one. Kevin
George
Love,
Niang and Yusuf Nurkic also added to the team. And then, of course, they drafted Ace Bailey, which is their main draft pick. They're not going to be good.
Yeah, they're going to be
but they're not trying
bad.
to be. In fact, I would venture to say that the trade of Colin Sexton for Yusuf Nurkic is specifically defined or designed to make them terrible. Like, they can guarantee they'll be terrible if they just put Yusuf Nurkic on the floor for significant minutes throughout the season.
Yeah, add Lauri Markkanen to that list with Trey Murphy of players that I would continue to like to rescue, because I don't know what he's still doing there. That seems like a really bad situation.
Yeah, if the Suns...
They have guys who have shown potential as young pieces.
What are we, an hour, 20 minutes into this podcast? Let me ask you this. Would you trade Ryan Dunn?
For what?
For Lauri Markkanen.
Well, we got to make the money work. So Markkanen makes like...
So you include more. Let's say...
He makes like $45 million.
Let's say
or something.
Grayson Allen.
Jalen Green? No. No. I guess the answer is no. The problem with Markkanen is Markkanen made sense when I was pitching trades 3 months ago as a return piece, like as part of the return for KD, because KD made $50 million. We don't have, but like Markkanen isn't actually that good. He's good, but he's overpaid. So we don't have anyone on the current roster where I think it would make sense.
I guess the question is more, would you be willing to trade Ryan Dunn?
From a value perspective?
Yeah.
I think Markkanen would have the potential to be like an elite 1-2 punt, just like fit with Devin Booker. Markkanen would fit so well with Devin Booker.
He'd be really good in the starting lineup that the Suns are trying to put together too. You know, I think that's like
they just need more. They just need more scoring and a little bit more 3-point volume, and like Markkanen would just slide in and do it. And like he's not. I understand he's tall, but he's not like physical or not like a plus defender for his size. But like he rebounds enough and he defends enough for his size. I think it would work out. Like if Markkanen were 6'8", then his career would not have caught fire like it did. But because he's 7 feet tall, it makes up for a lot of his other weaknesses.
Yeah, it's tough.
I continue to really like him, but the Jazz are going to be horrible.
Technically, Ryan Dunn, Jalen Green, and Royce O'Neal or something like that would work. And I don't know. It almost feels like too much for Lauri Markkanen now at that point. So I don't know if I would do that. I just kind of trying to find a way to make that make sense for the Suns. He just makes too much money.
Trying to think, does Utah have like any other veterans on the roster that they would be happy to get rid of? Not Kevin Love.
They seem to have gotten rid of all of them.
Slow-mo, what's his deal?
Kyle Anderson, I guess. Niang. Niang's a veteran.
Would you take Kyle Anderson and Markkanen for the guys that you suggested?
It's tough. I'd have to see the Suns play in order to make that decision and decide.
Well,
how bad is Jalen Green? Basically, is the question. Yeah,
sure. This is not going to happen anyway, so you guys don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it would just be fun to have a power forward who launches threes and averages like 23 points a game. And I still think Markkanen can do that. I know he had a down year, but I believe in the guy.
I'm looking at the list of teams, right, and it has their re-signs, the additions, and the departures on the NBA's website, and the list looks huge for one team that we've covered so far. It's the Houston Rockets. That's the biggest list. Lastly, the team that I want to read out their additions, departures, and re-signings is the Phoenix Suns. This is also probably the second biggest list, if not the biggest. Departing from the Phoenix Suns, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Tyus Jones, Cody Martin, Micic, Plumlee, and Ty Washington. They re-signed Colin Gillespie and Devin Booker. Devin Booker, of course, 2-year, $147 million extension. They added Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Nigel Hayes-Davis, Mark Williams, Jared Butler, Jordan Goodwin, Kaman Malawach, Rasheer Fleming, and Kobe Brea on a 2-way. There's a lot of young talent that the Suns added. I'll give them credit, for that. But it is a dramatic change from the previous year, which is what they wanted. They're trying to build a culture. But we did read out all of these Western Conference teams, and it's clear that the Suns are at the bottom of that Western Conference, above a couple of teams. They can be better than these sports books anticipate them being. They can be better than the third worst team in the Western Conference. They have Devin Booker, and I think Dylan Brooks is actually going to be pretty valuable for them. What they would need in order to do that, as we've talked about a lot and we'll continue to talk about, is Mark Williams to be good. That would be a massive, massive difference maker for them right away.
Or
and then one or two of the rookies, Jalen Green, of course, and one or two of the rookies looking more ready than we anticipate would help a lot.
Yep. Or a leap from Ryan or Oso or Nigel Hayes-Davis coming out of nowhere. Like there are so many sources with the Suns where it's like you can see the potential, but none of it feels likely. All of it feels possible. None of it feels likely. And so that's why I understand why the sports books are on the Suns where they are. I'm holding out hope that they'll be better than at least a couple of these teams. Like I'd like them to be better than the Kings and the Blazers, who really should not have any business competing. But
they're going to have to be if they want to be in the play-in.
Exactly, but it's going to take hard work. Nothing's guaranteed in this conference, that's for sure.
And health, I think, for Devin Booker in particular. All right, that's a long one. So we came back with a massive one. We'll be back with a Patreon episode this week covering the Eastern Conference. If you'd like to join, it's patreon.com.
That will also be a massive one.
It will have to be, yeah. I mean, a little shorter because it's less relevant, but I think still interesting. And you can join our Patreon, join us on our Discord, talk Suns there and everything else. We appreciate you all for listening. Sorry about the break, and we'll be back later this week.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.